Folks, nice to meet you. My name is Jocko van der Kooi. I'm the founder of Winning by Design. Today, I'm going to talk about the importance of process, so much so that it is more important than AI. I'm going to make my case in the following 3 ways. I'm going to talk a little bit about the state of the industry, where I'm going to start. I'm going to talk about the mindset of a factory applied to recurring revenue, and I'm going to talk about process and the importance of that over tools. Let's start with the big question. Is SaaS coming to an end? Is the idea of recurring revenue coming to an end? Folks, it is not at all. What is happening is software as a service, recurring revenue is maturing at a rapid pace, such a rapid pace that it is transforming, it's advancing, it's changing, it's blossoming, and so on and so forth. All of that, but it ain't dying. Maturing, what that means is that the processes behind it are maturing, according to Edward Deming. So as the companies, as SaaS, as recurring revenue matures, it is the process that actually matures behind it. This has started, this is unstoppable, and this is currently accelerating, right? Well, what you see down here is a team, a manufacturing team. They use Six Sigma. They have learned how to do it. What you'll see here is a software development team using Agile. They have learned how to do it. What you'll see down here is an empty forklift truck. Yes, but it is essentially a distribution center. They use lean management. They learn how to do it. You may think that creative approaches do not have this. They too have this. Design thinking allows us to create processes out designing. Folks, music, dancing, all of them follow the same thing. They have processes behind us. One of the best examples is ISO 9000. This is a data center. We operate in this data center, right? We operate on the cloud, sit on some server somewhere. Did you know that that server sits in a rack that is redundant, meaning I got 2 racks of them, sitting in a facility that has backup generators and backup battery power that is integrated with interconnectivity that enters the building on 2 different sites, that is located and has a complete redundant location in a different emergency zone. So never 2 of the data centers find themselves in the same earthquake zone or the same other emergency zone. They've all done that in order to create this incredible cloud performance. This incredible cloud performance is so high that today it operates on 5 nines, which means that it is less than 5 minutes and 36 seconds outage a year, which are timed in order to do critical upgrades. That is how well that works, right? And for software, Agile does the same thing. Do you want to know and guess what the cloud performance is of go-to-market? I want you to pick a number in your head, what you think that is. Pick a number, okay? Okay, divide that number by 2. Divide it again by 2. Divide it again by 2, and maybe even divide it again by 2. Folks, that number right now is 1.5% and declining, meaning that the companies who achieve, get a funding round of $3 million or bigger are approximately 1.5 out of 100 reach 100 million in revenue. Out of those who reach $100 million, 1 out of 5 to 1 out of 10 reach $1 billion in revenue. And those who go public and IPO and whatnot, even only half of those maintain success, right? So you have to determine how low is that success rate. Now, primarily, historically, we have about 87, 88 public SaaS companies. Most of them went public on a process called grow at all costs, which then 36,000 plus SaaS companies that followed, they started to follow that process. What is that process? Well, let me show you what it is. First, the growth at all cost process was based on an unlimited number of leads that turned into revenue. And as the market grew from 10,000 providers to 36,000 to 40,000 providers, the leads generated themselves. Second, the skills became optional because the value prop of SaaS was that of the value proposition itself. 10x ROI, low cost, and so on and so forth. That meant that the skills actually of selling became optional. As a result, we were able to use lower cost labor, such as SDRs and AEs, which previously were sales directors that were running off of $4 to $5 million quotas. They became AEs operating on $180,000. And lastly, what is a key function of growth at all costs is a maniacal focus on achieving growth primarily through acquisition, often over and at the cost of retention and expansion. This still happens today in 9 out of 10 companies. You may think like, no, it's not that bad. It is that bad. 9 out of 10 companies still have a maniacal focus on acquisition long beyond the life cycle of that. That is the state of the industry we are at. So we need to change. And what are we going to change? We're going to change to a factory mindset. For those companies who go above and beyond $10 million, we need to think in a factory. Now, a factory has typically 3 things. It has production capacity, it has efficiency and quality. You want to make sure that your manufacturing lines produce, they are cost efficient, they deliver quality product. If you look at the lean factory, that actually matches up very well. You know, like if you're looking at recurring revenue in the form of subscription or usage, we say like, hey, we want more growth. We want it at a lower cost. And we want to make sure that what we sell delivers impact so the customer comes back and wants more. A perfect match. It goes further, right? If you look at it, actually that factory also maps to the production line thinking. What I want you to think is think of your production line as in like revenue GTM motions. Your GTM motion for mid-market and enterprise and SMB, they operate like production lines, each with their own metrics, each with their own performance data, each with their own impact, and so on and so forth, each with their own quality measures. And they all each generate revenue. And when you add these revenue up, you get your revenue growth pattern, right? It's as simple as that. Now, when I look in one of the production lines, I see that the production lines in generally are inputs that are generating outputs. Leads generate revenue. But there's another factor in there, and that says throughput. For companies with a GTM motion that is below $10 million, it is very input driven. For companies, once they start surpassing $10 million, it starts to become very throughput driven. Throughput driven is essentially based on 3 different things. Do you use efficient processes? Are you using the right processes? And so on and so forth. Are you applying the technology correct? Think AI. And are you able to enhance the skills whenever human skills are involved? Are we able to enhance the skill level so that people have a better experience? This simply can be applied and historically has been applied to a process or to a revolution we call the Industrial Revolution. Many of us today, particularly in sales functions, sales-driven, are still very dependent on what we call artistry, superstar level performance, where 20% of the sales force generate 80% of the growth. This is artistry level. And like I said earlier, many of the marketing and sales companies operate still their marketing and sales departments in the artistry kind of level. Mechanization is where we are starting to see, hey, we're starting to use some form, in this case, steam power, which later on was using electrical power, which later on became automation. And automation, which became the 3rd industrial revolution during the 1960s, is where we see most of our advanced organizations now use email automation, sales automation, customer success automation. We're now making the jump to cyber-physical, which is where we see the impact of AI. And this role between automation and cyber-physical is where we currently are stuck and where I'm currently going to depict and apply that to what we spoke about earlier, that input, throughput, output thing. What you'll see what happened in the 1960s is that as part of this manufacturing line, we replaced human labor and we put in robots. Well, that is exactly the same thing that we're doing right now, but in GTM, we're replacing that product production capacity more and more with AI. Does that mean that overnight all sales and marketing jobs will disappear? No, obviously not. But it will mean that action by action, more and more of the actions will be replaced by things like AI. They first will be enriched, and sooner or later they'll be automated. They will be removed, and before we know it, we need lesser capacity, 10, 20, 30, 40% over time. The same way how robots has reduced the capacity, the need of humans inside factories. What you'll see here is that this builds what we call a lean factory, factory level thinking on recurring revenue production, where the generation of revenue can be split up in GTM motions that operate like well-oiled production lines. That gives us the idea of the revenue factory. It also gives us an idea on the importance of tools. But here I want to draw the highlight and says like, hey, tools are important, but not before the process. Process oversees the systems and not the other way around. I'm going to rely down here on a little video of Amy Webb, who talks more eloquently about this.
This was last year. And I just kept trying over and over and over again to get Midjourney to show me literally any CEO that was just not a white guy that looked like this. And it didn't really work. So it's been a year. All of us are hearing about all of this progress being made in artificial intelligence, right? It's amazing, all the work that's been done. I thought maybe we should see what's changed. Would you like to do that together? Yeah, I think so too. All right, CEO of a large company and make it photorealistic. I did actually try this prompt over and over and over again. And, got the same guy wearing the same suit. So how about a CEO of a company that makes tampons?
Well, there we are back again. Amy gave us an idea, a fantastic perspective. Like, we can't trust the tools by itself, because if the tools don't know what to do, then the tools will do the wrong thing, as Amy described. That means that process is more important. And in Amy's example, the process of accumulating the right kind of data, which allows the AI system to respond properly. This gives us an idea of what the guiding principles of buying are in 24-25. I want to let you know that, often we determine how we need to be selling, but we cannot do that without establishing these principles first. Principle number 1 is buyers hate being sold, but they love to buy. So we have to create not buying experience, or not sales experiences. We have to create fantastic buying experiences. Second, buyers determine how they wish to be sold. We sellers cannot force upon them how buyers want to buy. Occasionally it occurs, and 1 in 100 is able to do that, but the remaining 99 have to obey to how the buyers wish to buy. Buyers wish to be sold differently. This is also, it's not like the buyers come to us and say like, hey, I like the way it is. No, they clearly are asking, sell to me differently. I don't want to sit on these long discovery calls. I don't want to have all this uncustomized, you're not aware of me, what I'm doing and what my business is. And lastly, AI, and this is important, is helping the buyer today more than they are helping the seller. AI as a technology allows the buyer to create a certain amount of process, more so than the seller. What I wanted to explain to you is how, based on these 4 principles, how a modern buying experience looks like.
So here we are in Notebook LM. You can load it up with all the materials here on the left. With 1.5 Pro, it instantly creates this notebook guide with a helpful summary and can generate a study guide, an FAQ, or even quizzes. Notebook LM is going to take all the materials on the left as input and output them into a lively science discussion personalized for him. Let's take a listen.
So let's dive into physics. What's on deck for today?
Well, we're starting with the basics, force and motion.
Okay.
And that, of course, means we have to talk about Sir Isaac Newton and his 3 laws of motion.
Ah, yes, the foundation for understanding how objects move and interact.
Ah, yes, this is where multimodal really shines. Now, it generated this audio discussion based on that text material. And what's amazing is that my son and I can join into the conversation and steer it whichever direction we want. When I tap join.
Hold on, we have a question. What's up, Josh?
Yeah, can you give my son Jimmy a basketball example?
Hey, Jimmy! That's a fantastic idea. Basketball is actually a great way to visualize force and motion. Let's break it down.
Okay, so first, imagine a basketball just sitting there on the court. It's not moving, right? That's because all the forces...
What we have learned is this modern buying experience is based on an AI system assisting the buyer, providing them the right information. This example that Josh gave was exactly an example that, although it was in the educational space, you can see it when an AI system, similar to now how note takers are on our call and how calls are being recorded and later on abbreviated and summarized. What we now see is in real time when an AI system sits on place, they can start to answer questions. What is the pricing? What is the current list price of X? What's happened there? Can you bring up a slide of product Y? Can you give me a quick demonstration of X? All this can be put in the hands of the seller who creates an AI system that joins the discovery call. It only takes a very small step to remove the seller as a person at all and simply leave the buyer with the AI system, which creates, as Josh showed, can create a fantastic experience with the buyer directly with the AI system that reflects the seller. This can happen 24/7 and can be an immediate response rate, far better than human quality assurances currently can provide. Will there still be room for a seller? Absolutely. What we'll see is we'll just be only in certain circumstances where there's a highly specialized function needed. This shows to us that process, if we have the right buying process that follows the customer journey, that will supersede the tools and that will supersede the skills. Therefore, the guiding principles for selling is make sure you create the right sales process that matches the buying process that customers currently have. Second, one of the determining factors that buyers are looking for is the velocity. Will you be able to respond accurately and swiftly? You may have heard the saying, months of delay followed by a week of hurry, which indicates as a seller, you need to be always on standby call. You need to be able to respond quickly 24/7 to a customer's need. Time is of the essence. Make sure your processes are designed for velocity. When I say outbound is not dead, what I mean is that outbound as a term may be dead, but the approach of reaching out to customers proactively and reaching out in an effort to help them, that definitely will still be much needed. We refer to this as do better, not do more better, not do more emails, better, more emails. No, what we're saying is do better. Use AI to create a better experience for the customer. And lastly, the fourth point of the guiding principle for sellers is meet your customers, period, where they are, period, right? Meet them in person, I think is very important. Humans want to communicate with human beings. So meet with customers in the field, meet with them at their point where they are, meet with them at their office or, and so on and so forth. If they can't meet you in person, meet online. That is where they are. Meet your customers where they are in the buying process, where they are at physical location, and where they are in their time of development. These three topics, the state of the industry, clearly signals to us that the days of growth at all costs are over, where we currently are operating at half the cost at double the price, half the growth rate at double the price. We see that in order to overcome the growth at all cost mindset, we need more of a factory-like thinking of how your business operates like a recurring revenue factory. And when we think about a recurring revenue factory, we need to make sure that we look at process first and tool second and not the other way around. Folks, that gives us an idea on what will the role of the CRO be in the future. A common question, what will the role of the CRO be? And that role is very simple. Revenue is the result of the right process diligently executed. That is where revenue comes from. If I have a proven process and I execute that process diligently, recurring revenue will be the outcome. And whether that is an acquisition process, a retention process, an expansion process, whether that is a process that's executed by AI or human beings or whatever it is, the right process diligently executed delivers us the revenue. That means that the role of the CRO is to identify, create, and implement proven revenue producing processes to perfection. As simple as that. And for that you could easily learn that they need to be data driven. Well, with that said, I am happy to report that was the talk of today. We need to go, in order to do this, we need to think, where did this happen? This happened. We are not the first to run into this. This has happened in the 1960s when robots started to become part of the factory mindset. We can learn from that. And for us to move forward, we have to learn from the past. And what the past is telling us is process before robots. And with that said, I'm going to give you a fantastic day and looking forward to see you out there. Bye-bye.